In these next 100 days, I'm going to survive as a wizard in these enchanted lands. But I must be aware, as evil has taken over, and it is left to me to take a stand against this giant force. Will I be able to survive? What magic will I uncover? Can I stop the all-seeing evil force, or will I perish? As I spawned into the world, I looked around and then saw something in the chat saying something strange is trying to enter this world. As I began to walk around, I ran into a bound soul, which then attacked me.
Holy crap, I need to go.
I turned and began to make my escape, but they weren't very fast. I bumped into an old graveyard, tried to break one of the gravestones to use it as a weapon, but it wouldn't break, so I kept on moving. I saw some sort of structure up ahead. This was my escape. I made my way towards it.
This doesn't look like anyone lives here.
I made my way into the tower and looked around. I couldn't find anything until I reached the top. At the top, I found a couple of barrels. I broke them and a million items splintered out, but nothing that useful. It seemed like it was all potion supplies, like some sort of witch or wizard lived in here. At the peak of the tower, I walked into a room and all of a sudden I was set on fire. It was a trap. After the fire burnt out, I walked ahead and I found a chest. Inside of it, an emerald sword and some other obscure items. Because I'm a wizard, I can't use any sort of weaponry, but I took the other items. As I began my adventure, I heard an explosion behind me. I turned and I saw guards emerging from this huge pillar. I quickly turned and ran. This must have been what had entered the world. Dark forces were at play here and I needed to get out fast. I made my escape using the river nearby. I spotted a raft ahead, so I went towards it. I was startled as I opened the front door and saw a witch inside. I looted the chest using the window when all of a sudden I was fatigued. Scared that the witch might poison me, I made my escape and jumped back into the water. I gathered some wood from a tree. When I crossed the river, I noticed some sort of rift. A strange being came out of it. This was that Monolith's doing. It was coming straight for me, and as I turned to look at the Monolith again, I spotted more rifts. I made my way into the water and swam to the next island. I needed to get far away from whatever that was. I made my way through a swamp, trying to lose the beings that were chasing me. I found some sort of abandoned structure, and I went to peek inside.
There doesn't seem to be anything. Oh, that's sneaky.
They had hidden a chest below a slab, and when I opened it, I found strange ingots amongst other items and some sort of key. If I was going to survive, I would need to find myself a wand and fast. I spotted a wizard tower in the swamp, so I went towards it. I wasn't sure if the Monolith had corrupted all the wizards yet, but I needed a staff from the tower, so I had to take my chances.
Come on, please don't be evil. Please don't be evil. Oh, they're good.
All the evil wizards have red eyes. I opened the chest, and inside I found a wand, some crystals, and a book. I had to do some tinkering with it. I put it inside of the strange workbench that was inside of the wizard's workshop. Eventually, I got it to work, and I applied something called Magic Missile to my wand. I decided to wait it out in the wizard tower until daytime, and as soon as the daytime came, I ran out through a window and on the treetops. I made a boat and I began sailing out to sea. I was not ready to face whatever that Monolith was, but I knew I would have to come back to it eventually. I spotted another wizard tower and some sort of strange rune on an island. I went and borrowed some cobblestone, made a cobblestone pickaxe, and then went on my way. I could see man-made structures everywhere, but my only concern right now was food. The graveyards everywhere were really eerie, and I wasn't sure why they were so spread out, but I turned my attention back to food, and I used my wand on a chicken, and it murked him.
Yo, this thing is awesome.
I approached a small house when I was attacked by soldiers.
All right, wand, do your thing. Okay. It's easy.
I approached the house slowly in case there were more around, and sure enough, another one sprang out, but I took it down with my wand. I made my way inside when I found peasant ladies in there. They were no threat to me, so I didn't kill them. I tried opening a chest, but it said that there were still enemies around. After opening a set of double doors, I found him. I took a shot, but then he put his shield up. I waited for the right timing, and when he charged, I took him down. Finally, I could open the chest, and inside I found insane loot. There were keys, magical spell books, potions that were banned. A lot of it I didn't understand yet, but I took it all. Once I got out, I tried reading the spell book, but I couldn't make heads or tail of the writing. I wanted to apply it to my wand, but I had heard that if you apply it and try using it and it's the wrong spell for that wand, it can blow up. I moved on to a really nice forest nearby. I chopped down some wood and I made a little base camp. I smelted up my food. Now it was time to go mining and grab some supplies. I wasn't allowed to wear traditional armor. I could only wear mage's cloaks, but I needed some crystals before I could do that. I found a whole host of resources inside of the mines, and then eventually I found my crystal. crystals. I picked up some other resources while I was down there, and then I made my way out.
Alright, I just gotta get these resources to the smelter, and then we're gonna be water. Whoa, what the heck are these?
Tiny minions appeared out of my camp and began attacking me, and I took them down with my wand.
Huh, well that was a little bit strange.
The evil from that monolith was spreading, and I was scared that it found me, so I grabbed my things and began to leave. But as I was trying to leave, all of a sudden a Maelstrom executioner came out of nowhere. I turned and ran. There was no way I could face him yet. On the hill, I noticed some sort of humanoid figures. They must have turned me in. If I could grow powerful enough, maybe I could put an end to that monolith, but they know that, so I have to be careful. I kept on running through the night. I had to get distance from that monolith and those beasts.
Yo, look at that chonky fellow. Oh, he throws blocks.
As I ran through the field, I spotted evil mobs left, right, and center.
Oh, is that a fox?
I ran towards the fox.
Yo, little buddy, you need to get out of here. Can I tame you?
I didn't know what to do. I felt bad leaving him, or all of a sudden I was dragged.
Yo, what's going on? What's going on?
That beast that was stalking me from earlier was dragging me through the plains. I tried to shift, escape, nothing was letting me out.
Alright, come on, there's gotta be some way. No.
We went right through the rift. I began floating in sort of an atmosphere with nothing around me. I was jerked back awake. I was in some sort of dimension and I was being attacked. I sprang back, shooting my wand everywhere. I had no idea what I was trying to hit. Whatever it was, I needed to make distance, so I turned and I ran. I noticed some sort of phantom creature in the distance. I did not want to cross paths with that.
Oh, you're back, eh? Let's get some. Yeah, that's right. Not so tough now, but how do I get out of here?
The invisible creature found me again. I tried to attack it, but I had no idea where it was, so I ran. Another one of those rift creatures spawned. This must mean that a rift is near. I looked around. In the distance, I spotted one. I ran towards it.
Come on, don't despawn. Let's go.
I found myself back in the overworld in some sort of dead savanna biome. My mind straight down, and then I made myself a little hole to wait out the night. The next morning, while I was traveling out, I found some sort of chest. I tried to open it with the keys that I had, but the keys broke. I managed to get one of the locks off, but I couldn't get the whole thing open, so I decided to pick it up and figure it out later.
Yo, is that a body?
Near a small graveyard, I found a skeleton. The evil from that monolith was spreading. I had to make a base and start my defense quick. I needed some wool pretty bad, and I spotted a ship out on the water, so I made my way towards it. I took some of the wool from the sails and then made my way into the captain's quarter, where I found 2 chests, and inside of one I found a grand magic crystal. This was a very valuable find, so I took it and some of the other items. As I returned to top deck, I found monsters. The ship was on fire, and these demons and zombies were right atop. I dove into the water, put my boat down, and sailed away. The ship was on fire behind me. Something was after me. As I got to shore, I began making my way inland when I spotted a giant civilization. I had no idea if they were friendly or had already been turned by the monolith, and I wasn't taking any chances, so I wouldn't go in. I made my way through the forest till I found some sort of swamp biome. I was going to need to make a base that was hidden, and I had an idea. I made some signs and then went into the water. I dug out a little area and placed the signs to stop the water from flowing in. I then began to mine out a small area. This would be my starter base. With the supplies I now had, I made some special fabric and then molded myself a complete set of wizard armor. I spent a bit tinkering with my arcane workbench and eventually was able to put another spell onto my wand, and when I tried it, I discovered it as Dart. It was a slower, more powerful version of the magic missile that I already had. I built some ladders so I could access my way back up into the water and then tried opening the chest again, but all I did was break more keys. I went out adventuring the next morning. I found some wool and a bed. While moseying around, I found some sort of strange portal hidden between 2 blocks.
Nothing bad ever happens when you walk through portals, right?
I made my way through it and I found myself in some sort of alternate dimension. I was slowly walking around when all of a sudden Forsaken zombies came out. The Forsaken were part of the wizard's army. I battled them back. I needed to get out of here. I sprinted around the maze, but I had lost my way. All of a sudden a boss bar called the Deserted came up. If the boss bar expired, I had no idea what was gonna happen. I needed to get out now.
Come on, where's the door? Let's go.
I made it through the door back into the overworld. It was raining atop the surface.
This chest looks weird. It's got some sort of protection spell on it.
As I tried to open the chest, all of a sudden wizards spawned. Thankfully, only 2 had spawned, and I was able to take them out. I could tell by their red eyes that they were not friendly wizards. When I opened the chest, I found some crystals, a spell book, an ancient ring, and some old books. If I was going to become the most powerful wizard in this realm and take on that monolith, I was going to need to get a lot more of these books. As I was traveling through the wilderness, all of a sudden I was attacked by a dragon. I ran. I couldn't outrun him though. I had to be smart. I quickly began mining my way down, straight down a hole trying to evade him. I barely made it out alive. That was way too close. Whilst I was underground, I collected some supplies when I ran into this strange structure. I went inside and opened the chest, and I found some antique vampire items. I wasn't sure if the vampires were going to align with this evil or stand against it, but I wasn't taking any chances.
Oh, yo, is that a village?
I went into the village scouring for supplies. Inside of the blacksmith, I found some basic items, but nothing too helpful. I'd made my way over to the wizard tower when all of a sudden I was attacked. More evil wizards began casting spells at me. I was able to take them down, but I was disoriented. More attacking was going on from tree ants and some vampires. I didn't know who was on whose side, so I ran. I made my way inside of the tower to try and heal when I ran into a guard. The guard attacked me, and I battled back and was able to take it down. As I made my way through the tower, I battled more creatures, including a mage, but my magic was growing powerful, and I was able to take them down. While nearing the top, I ran into a nature wizard. I was able to take it down as well, but this wasn't a good sign. This meant that nature had aligned with this evil. I used his arcane workbench to heal my staff and then kept pushing in. As I began taking the stairs to the top, a boss bar appeared, a Maelstrom Executioner. When I peeked my head up, there he was, an entity from the Monolith. He did some sort of spin attack. I attacked back and then backed off.
Where did he go? Where did he go?
When I got to the top, I found the Tome of Arcana and some magical crystals. This was exactly what I was looking for.
Now I just gotta get out of here alive.
I couldn't leave before defeating the Maelstrom Executioner. I couldn't let him alert the Monolith on my whereabouts, so I went down and attacked him. A giant was backing him. I was going to take them out both. As they backed me up, I kept spamming. I knew I could do this. Finally, I took down the Executioner. Now it was just the giant. I couldn't let him hit me. He did way too much damage. I released all the magic I had left, and then I took him down. While leaving, I noticed that the Maelstrom Executioner dropped some items. I picked up some sort of strange dagger and gemstone.
Not sure what these are used for, but I'll pick them up for now.
As I was leaving the village, I spotted some sort of strange totem. This did not give me a good feeling. I didn't know who this village was worshipping. As I made my way out of the village, I was attacked by a jumping creeper. It blew up, but as I turned, I spotted a rift and I noticed a set of eyes looking through it. Something was tracking me. I ran, heading back for my kingdom. When I got back, I tried using the Tome of Arcana on my wand. This would upgrade my wand to a higher tier and let me use more powerful spells. However, my wand did not have enough experience to accept this upgrade. I would need to kill even more bad mobs. I made some new armor, smelted down some food, and then headed out. Nearby on my adventures, I spotted another rift. They were getting close to my base. I couldn't let them find it. As the sun cleared, I spotted some sort of structure. I broke through and I found some chests hidden beneath some sort of grave. A hidden chest at the very bottom. It all seemed to just be some nature items. Later in the day, I spotted a battle tower. This would be perfect to level up my wand. I made my way up carefully, taking out the mobs, then looting the chests floor by floor. There was a ton of really good loot in here. After killing a spider, I picked up a Bazor. These would stop me from getting poisoned. They were a relic from a time long forgotten. As I got to the top, I met the Golem, the guard of the tower. He blasted me. He did a ton of damage. I couldn't go up or I'd get killed. I went up anyway, and then I started blasting him with my wand.
Come on, take damage. Go down, go down.
I gave every single ounce of magic into all of my strike, and then he fell. The chest he was guarding had blown up, but I went up to it and I got some crazy OP items, including another Tome of Arcana, which would allow me to upgrade my wand past the next tier once I had enough experience. The tower was beginning to explode. I took out one of my potions and drank it, and it teleported me home. But it didn't take me home, it took me to my old base. Maelstrom guards were everywhere. I began to run. I had no health. As I looked around looking for an escape, I spotted a rift. It was my only choice. I made my way towards it, dodging the mobs. I jumped right in, knowing they wouldn't follow me. I was back again inside of this eerie place. I began making my way around when I spotted a strange block. I broke it and it instantly gave me nausea. That was a mistake. I was traversing the terrain, looking for a way out when I noticed a big cave, but as a roar came from it, I decided not to go down there. Finally, after some time, I spotted a rift and I hopped back through. I had made up my mind. I was going to return home, but I wasn't going to build a base underground. I was going to build a base above ground and face this evil.
A floating axe. Well, that's a little bit strange.
If I was going to build a base above ground, I was definitely going to be attacked, so I was going to need help defending. I grabbed some cheese that I had found earlier and went out venturing into the night. I was going to need to recruit minions, and the best bet I had at that were rats. Small creatures, but when used in number, they were definitely going to pack a punch. I used the cheese to bait a rat.
Yeah, come on. I am gonna use you as a battle machine, but that's okay. I'll give you cheese.
He looked kind of cute while he was nibbling down on the cheese. It took forever, but finally I got my first rat. When I right-clicked him, he hopped on top of my hat. It was so cute. I needed 2 if I wanted them to mate, so I went around looking for another one when I spotted a rift. They were getting close. I found another rat, and after some time, tamed him as well.
Yo, I can put both on me.
I made some cages and then put both rats in them. This would help them mate. I began clearing out a large area, but I suddenly realized this was gonna take way too long. I wanted to build a giant base, but I was going to need minions. So I committed to evil for the final time, and then I got the master staff of the minions. I used the staff to spawn the minions in and then tasked them with clearing the forest, and they went to work. I was hoping I wouldn't have to pay for that later. With the wood they had collected, I began forming a giant wall. I knew that since I had a base above ground now, I was definitely going to be attacked, and the wall might keep them out. An attack was surely coming. I needed to get resources to outfit an army, so I went down into the mines and tasked my minions with strip mining. While I was in my house, I got a message in the chat that a rat was killed by a hunter. When I got out, I found its corpse. I looked around. Something had to be close. I made my way to the edge of the camp when I found Illagers with bows. I drew my wand and began spamming at them. I took both of them down. These were scouts. The army would not be far behind. I had to get ready. I needed to get a lot of weapons and gear for an army to face what was coming. So I grabbed some items and then began venturing out. I grabbed one of my rats and then went out seeking. While I was in the icy tundra, I spotted an ice dragon. Thankfully, I was out of range. Ahead, I saw a cabin with some sort of dragon marking on it. When I went to open the door, soldiers sprang out. I turned and I ran. They were chasing me, and then I fell in a hole. I got out and kept going. I needed to make distance. Dead ahead, I spotted a giant mountain. I had to go over it. Finally, I made it to the top, and as I looked around, I found more bound souls and also structures. I found some sort of prison object. Something strange was holding on the top of this mountain. It seemed like to enter, you needed some sort of key. As night fell, I was attacked. I fought off the bound souls using my wand, but more creatures emerged from the rift. Someone had cast a magical spell on me, and I was frozen. I moved a lot slower, and the vampire was attacking me. I had run into another one of those magical chests, but after taking out the witches, I found inside an amulet of the lich.
Grants a 15% chance for incoming damage to be dealt to do nearby minion instead. Oh, poor minions.
While I traveled through the plains as the sun rose, I found some sort of broken down structure. Some old civilization must have lived here. I found this enormous tower. Inside must be the loot that I need to outfit my army. I found the front door and I began battling. The place was filled by evil mobs with bows and swords, so I took on my wand and I gave them everything I had. Particles began emerging from the floor. This meant that a wizard was inside. I refilled my wand and then charged in. There he was, the wizard. I took him out. I made my way through the next floor. It was like a maze when I ran into more mobs.
Get out of here. And you did.
They were guarding a chest, but when I opened it, nothing too good was inside, but there must be good loot on the top floor. I was one floor away from the top when I ran into a host of mobs. Something was strange about the blue one though, and then he multiplied himself. He was a wizard. They were all pelting me.
Come on, magic. Do damage. Do damage.
I dropped him, and then he dropped some sort of totem.
The totem of shielding. Huh.
I applied it and then kept on roaming. I found some epic loot inside of the chests and then pushed to the top floor.
Holy crap, there's so much good stuff up here.
I looted the chest when all of a sudden a giant being was behind the chair. He hit me back. He broke free and did a ton of damage, so I sprinted away. There was no way I was going to be able to take him on. After traveling a good distance, I tried opening a chest with the lockpick that I had. It sure did open, however, there was nothing inside. I kept pushing forward when I was attacked by a tribe on horses. Bows and spears tried to light me up. I put my magic on full show for them. I took them down one by one. I was going to be a feared wizard. I would not run. A giant beast emerged. This was a true challenge. He packed a punch. I stopped to recharge my wand when he brought me down to 2 hearts. But with my wand at the ready, he had no chance, and I killed him. As I passed through some sort of dead area, I noticed faces in the tree.
This evil thing is watching me from everywhere now. I gotta be careful.
The ground withered me as I was trying to inspect the tree, and I ran off. I found some sort of weird ancient altar atop a weird block. I didn't know what it was used for yet, but its energy did not look good. I found another ruined structure. It had items all over it. I thought for a second it was a trap, but it didn't seem to be one. I found another Viking chest inside of the ruins, and inside it had items, including some keys. I used a potion to get home, and when home, I tried using my keys on the pirate chest, and I opened it. The loot was pretty lackluster, though. While I was topside, I heard an explosion behind me. These giant golems burst through the wall. The golems began to push me back. They They did an area attack. I had to gap. I was getting low.
Come on, just a few more shots, come on.
I took them both down. They were more Maelstrom guards. They dropped a Starfell staff. I tried using it, but it said it didn't have the magic required. I quickly patched up my wall so that nothing else could get through. The golems being here was a sign the army would be here any point. I took my rats out of their cage. They had multiplied a decent amount. I made some rat upgrades and some helmets. This would enable them to attack and have some defense. I went down into the mines to see the progress that the minions had done and also tasked them to do more things. I applied the rat upgrades and then went out venturing one more time. I needed a bit more of an army, and to get them I was going to need some more food. I picked up one of my rats and then went out. I released him on a snake I found and he absolutely murked it. I found a giant tower nearby and I began attacking. I released my rat and he packed a punch. We pushed into the entrance door. My rat charged ahead and began murking the guards. When I had a whole army of these things, I was going to be unstoppable. As we invaded the Great Hall, so many mobs were in there, but we were able to take them all down. I fired off all my shots. I couldn't leave any witnesses, so I ended the life of everybody there. I had a great door. I began spamming my rod, but you can just right-click the door and it opens, I found out. As the door opened, witches poured out. Me and my rat went back to work. As we invaded the main room, a demon spawned from the chair. I was slowly taking out all the witches, but all of a sudden the demon hit me with the sword. I was low. I had to run. With some time to breathe, I recharged my wand. I wasn't running far. I ran back in ready to battle, but he was gone. That wasn't necessarily a good sign. He might have gone to warn the others. I took his chairs because, they look cool. They wouldn't let me claim the flag. It had said that more mobs were still here. I found that there was a catacomb below when I invaded. We battled our way through the mobs. I found burial tombs. There were caskets leaning up against the wall. I wanted to see what kind of loot was inside them. After taking out all the evil, I made my way back up, claimed the flag, and then went for the main grave. Some loot fell from the casket along with a message saying, "Who dares awake me?" I didn't know what I had just unleashed. I went back down to the catacombs and I opened all the chests. This is exactly what I needed. This would outfit my army. When I got back home, I found that you could use the arcane workbench to heal your wizard cloaks. I healed up my armor and then headed outside. My first defense was nigh. First, I created some soldiers and some wands. I applied dart or magic missile, whatever I had inside of my books, to the wands so that the wizards would be able to stand with me. I outfitted my wizards with all of their equipment. I then moved on to my rats and I equipped them with helmets and attack upgrades. This was going to be the defense of the century. Before the attack came, I wanted to get some more crystals, so I ventured back out to a wizard tower. I defeated the wizard inside of the tower and stole the chest items. I spotted a pillager tower in the distance. I climbed up and began murking the mobs. One of them was super strong though, but I was able to take him down. The chest didn't really have any good loot on it, so I moved on. With the relics I had found, I began upgrading my mage armor. This would give me more defense and even more mana buffs. I applied some more books using the arcane workbench and then went outside to test them. I tried the first one and it was a snowball. As I shot the next one, it was a smoke bomb.
Could be useful. Oh, I could have some fun with this thing.
Night was coming and an inevitable attack I had to face. I placed down some of the arcane workbenches that I had found. I wanted to taunt the army that was incoming that I'd killed a bunch of their wizards. I heard explosions and as I turned I saw it, a maelstrom crawler. We were being invaded, my troops rallied and we began to fight. Two of those giant king figures had appeared. They were trapped down in a hole though, so I let loose on them with all of my magic. Wizards began pouring in and I battled them back. All of my troops and rats had fallen. It was up to me to survive until sunset. I unleashed everything I had on them. I took them down, but I still had to face the kings. My wand was out. I ran back to my house. I wouldn't hide down here though. I recharged my wand and headed back up. I continued fighting the king, using the water as my advantage. I had to head down again to recharge my wand. As I appeared back up to the surface, he was gone. They had all retreated. The sun was rising and a new day was upon us. We had successfully defended the first attack, but at the loss of all of my rats and all of my army. It was now time to rebuild civilization and a better army. With the first wave now defeated, I knew that my next task would be to go to their kingdom and then from there to the Monolith. But I needed to start a civilization first and become even more powerful. I made a block called a town hall and then went outside to place it. I went through a few building options and then placed it. What this would do is attract citizens to come to my area and help me build an empire. As my first citizen arrived, I made a builder's hut and then headed out a bit and placed it down. town. This would enable me to actually build buildings. Once the builder's hut was complete, the builder could then go and build my town hall and get even more citizens to expand my empire. The citizens could then build defenses and walls to help protect us. I went with medieval dark oak for the build. While the builder was busy on his builder's hut, I placed down another one. Having more builders would make me expand my colony even faster. I went down to the mines and I got my minions working. Soon, I would have enough resources and buildings to become an empire. I was finally able to upgrade my wand to the apprentice wand. With the builds now underway, it was time to take the offensive. We were gonna go to their castle. On the way there, I found another battle tower and I went through it and murked everybody inside and looted the whole thing. While traveling to their castle, I found yet another wizard tower. Inside, I found more crystals and some more spell books. If I could kill the captain of this castle, then I would have a chance of defeating the Monolith. But if I failed, I knew I would only bring horror and terror to my home, so I had to defeat him.
Alright, I think this is what I'm looking for.
I approached carefully, looking around, trying to figure out where they might be. Using my wand and my fireball ability, I began lighting it on fire. I was gonna smoke him out. As I made my way through, I spotted him, the Black Death. I began unleashing fire at him at an incredible rate.
You're going down.
He gave me the plague, and then these infested rats began attacking me. Once my friends, now my enemies. I fought him through the entire city, shooting at him with everything I had, but he was taking like no damage from my wand. Inside of the city, there was a treasure that I needed, a sentient sword. With it, I could perform magic unfathomably.
Alright, there's no way I'm defeating him. I'm going in for the treasure.
I ran into the castle, looking around for the treasure. I found a chest on a cart, and yes, there it was. The sentient sword, along with some other items. I tried using the sentient sword on the Black Death, but it wasn't doing a lot. I made my escape and returned home. Although I had gotten this sword and now was able to perform powerful magic, I knew that not killing him would bring him to my village eventually, with his own army. With the village now expanding, I placed down a couple of houses before I started on this new magic. I went outside of my base to set up a new type of tower. I found some hunters out there and I took them out with my wand. I then began placing down the foundation. This was going to be the altar that would allow me to use this new magic. However, to be able to begin with this magic, I was going to need something called the Raw Will of Souls. The sentient sword extracts it from any entity killed, and with it, I can craft magical items.
That looks like some sort of magical thing.
I went towards it. It was some sort of rune altar when all of a sudden these demon-like figures appeared. They had pitch red eyes. I used my life drain ability from my wand and began to destroy them. But I had to kill them with my sword, otherwise I wouldn't get the raw will, so I dealt some damage. One of them was a special mob, so I used my life drain ability to get him low, and then I went in with my sentient sword. However, before I was able to finish him, more of the druids appeared and they knocked me back into the water. They summoned the piranhas and I was being attacked from every front. I battled away the piranhas and then began making my way back to shore. I took them down using the sentient sword and gathered a lot of raw will. Now it was time to perform powerful magic. When I got home, I began transferring all my resources out to the field where I'd placed the altar, just for a little bit easier of access, as I was going to be spending a lot of time here. I made what's called a blood altar. What it does is it harnesses life essence from you or another entity. With that life essence, you can power the most powerful weapons and gear inside of the game. With this magic, I stood a chance against that beast.
Yo, what is... Oh, it's alive. It's a gecko.
On one of the adventures, I had found this powerful broom, and now it was time to put it to good use. To complete my altar, I was going to need runes, so I ventured out looking for a castle that might contain some of them. After some traveling, I found an old druid's place, so I landed. Out poured these tiny little minion figures. This was definitely the home of some mage, or at least used to be. I began battling away all the evil. I tried using my life drain ability, but there were just way too many, so I went back to my dart. I slowly but surely made progress, and then made it into the tower, but it was on fire. That might have been my fault. Inside of the chests, I found them, some old runes. I made my way to the top floor and found even more magical items and more runes. Whatever wizard used to live here was a powerful wizard. As I made my way out of the tower, I was attacked by these weird hound dogs. They had blue eyes and they were definitely part of the undead. All of a sudden, even more mobs started spawning. Out of the blue, Crimson Knights appeared. This was not good. I noticed on the left side there were portals. The Crimson Knights travel through portals and do the evil bidding.
I needed to get out of here.
I hopped on my broomstick and I sailed away. This was not good. Now that I had my runes though, I had to increase my magic fast. When I got home, I began dismantling all of the cobblestone and placing down the runes instead. This would form a powerful altar. Next, I needed some blood shards. To get the altar to the capacity I needed, I was going to need to harness some of these, so I grabbed some weakness potions and headed out. I killed some mobs in the tundra and found the frost maw again, but I was not gonna touch him. When I I arrived home, I made a Hellfire Forge. The sentient sword that I had was good, but every time I used it, it would drop raw will. Instead of getting all the pieces, I needed to craft something that could contain all the raw will. Using the Hell Forge, I crafted a Tartaric gem. Once the Tartaric gem was completed, I went over and continued building walls. I wanted to build walls to force the enemies to come in from one direction, but we were running out of time. The Black Death was surely going to find me soon. To craft the magical items I needed, I was going to need to fill up a Tartaric gem, but not this one. This was just the basic Tartaric gem. I was going to need a higher tier, but to get that, I was going to need to fill up this one anyway. Whilst I was out, I found another village, and I went to the Mage Tower and enchanted my sword. I went underground looking for mobs to kill and crystals to gather to begin filling up my Tartaric gem. While underground, I found this mob and I killed it, but ahead of it some strange sort of structure. When I went inside, I found some sort of block with question marks all over it. Eventually, I figured out to right-click it and a message appeared in the chat, buried secrets. I didn't have time to figure out what these secrets were, so I went on. That night, I unleashed the fury of my sword and murked every single mob in my path. I found another one of those towers, and after destroying all the evil mobs inside, the main chest room had a ton of loot. Whilst in the forest, I was attacked by these weird-looking beasts.
Okay, this is dangerous.
I had never seen anything like them inside of the world yet. More of these crazy mobs were appearing, but when I killed them, they dropped a ton of life essence and I captured their souls inside of my Tartaric gem. I was able to take them all down and this filled my Tartaric gem. When I got home, I used it to craft the next Tartaric gem. I would need one more before I was able to actually craft the magical armor that I needed. I set up some more of the wall to be built.
Alright, this should keep a lot of those suckers out.
While adventuring that next night, looking to fill up my next Tartaric gem, I found an old wizard's hut, almost completely destroyed, but with a special crafting bench. I could not make this crafting bench, it could only be found, but later it was going to come in very useful. I scoured the night, killing mobs everywhere, filling up my Tartaric gem again. After I got home, I realized that to craft the final gem that I needed, I was going to need to make a sacrifice. So I grabbed a dagger, grabbed a piece of stone, and went to the altar. I filled it up with my own life essence and put a piece of stone in. This was going to make me a rune, and with that rune, I could then make the next Tartaric gem. Now, it was just a matter of filling the gem. It was going to take way too long if I was going to use mobs to do it. I needed to find some sort of boss. That night while in the swamp, I spotted exactly what I needed.
Okay, that's a Hydra den.
I had to play this careful. Hydras can only be damaged when they're on fire. I went and looked nearby and I found some flint. Since I had some iron for my pet already, I was able to make some flint and steels. If I could light the mob on fire using the flint and steel and then finish it with my sentient sword, I could fill up the gem in one hit. However, on my way back, I was attacked by another rifter. He caught me this time though and he dragged me backwards. I had to get away. No matter which way I turned, I couldn't spot him to attack him.
What am I gonna do? What am I? My broom, my broom!
I grabbed out my broom and I flew away. The sky was glitching though, something was wrong. I went into F5 mode to find myself still lying down.
Okay, that does not look comfortable.
After a while, I got back to normal and then went back to the Hydra den. I lured it out, lit it on fire, and began attacking. Aw man, this is gonna be easy. It batted me into the water when yet another rifter came, but I think he was killed in the crossfire. I continued to battle, trying to light the Hydra on fire. Finally, I got it. I went back in for some hits. It was going down. It was so close to death. Just die. 6 health. Every time you attack the Hydra and he's not on fire, he grows another head and regens even faster. He kept going into the water and putting himself out. I needed him to get out of the water. I lured him out, lit him on fire again, but all of his heads were knocking me back so much. It was so frustrating. The battle dragged on, but he was not going down. He had grown so many heads by this point that I had no other choice but to walk away.
You know what? Screw that. Frank, we're getting...
I was so frustrated. This thing was going down. I built a giant pit. In that pit, I was going to fill it with lava. There was no way he was escaping me this time. With lava in hand, I lured him down to the pit. Once inside, the battle commenced, but one bucket of lava proved way harder than I thought to box him in. I began placing blocks everywhere, trying to get him in a more localized area. But inevitably, this actually created more of an issue because he started going on top of the blocks and avoiding the lava. I went and gathered even more lava and I spread it around everywhere.
I am inside the lava fighting this stupid thing and he's still not dying.
The fight had gone on for well over an hour. I'd used a lot of my golden apples and a lot of magical items. Eventually though, after some time, I brought him down. I then flew home. The first thing I did when I got home was I placed more walls to be built. Then, using my Tartaric gem, I crafted a new item, Binding Agent. I crafted an iron chest plate and then got to work. I tried adding the two items together, but that didn't work. I then used arcane ashes and threw the item items on top. I was trying to craft some crazy powerful armor. However, I had no idea what I was doing. After some tinkering, I figured it out. I right-clicked the 2 items, and then inscriptions began to emerge and spin. Something was being made.
Yo, there it is. That's exactly what we needed. The living chest plate.
Once I had a full set of this and living essence going into my altar, I would be unstoppable. Crafted the other armor components, and then I crafted the sword. The bound sword is extremely powerful, but if you use it without having adequate life essence, it will begin to harm you. I put down a bunch more walls. I knew the Black Death would be coming. I crafted some wands, and then I recharged them all. I placed down more soldiers this time and gave them all wands and a little bit of armor. This time, we were going to be ready. After setting my minions back to work, I went and gathered all the resources, smelted them down, and then began forming an iron golem line of defense. With the iron golems, the wizards, and now me and my most powerful set of armor yet, we had a chance. As night drew upon us, I saw the Black Death health bar appeared, and as I turned, there he was atop a hill. Arms outstretched, fire next to him. He was beginning to summon. I spammed some shots at him and then began to run. I was going to chase up the hill when all of a sudden we were invaded by evil beasts. They were absolutely everywhere, overrunning my army. He had brought so many men with him. I tried to help out my troops by taking down as many as I could, but I knew the only way to win this was to face the Black Death himself. I brought him away from the army. My village was burning down. It was me versus him. I took him to the coastline. At the coastline, I drew my bound sword and began attacking. The mobs that he summoned were super powerful. Invisible rats infected with the plague. I had to swap all my armor to diamond armor as I didn't have enough life essence to use the sword and the armor. As morning came, he tried to escape in the lake, but I was not letting him go. Finally, I caught up to him and started dealing some damage. This was going to be a tough fight. I had to make sure I was full on hunger and using my pet. I didn't regen while I was under the plague. If I didn't have this pet giving me hearts, I would definitely die. We both bounced around in the water as my bound sword dealt more and more damage. He brought me down to half a heart, but I used my pet just in time. I kept swinging. Slowly but surely, I dwindled him down in health. With only half a heart on my actual body, this was getting crazy close. He summoned everything he had in me, his blind plague rats, the piranhas from the swamps, everything, but I wasn't backing down. He was pretty much immune to my staff, so my sword was the best option. He only had a sliver of health yet. He was close.
Come on, just a bit more. Come on, one more. Stop hurting me back.
After what seemed like hours, he dropped. After killing off the final plague rats, I picked up what he had dropped, the Black Death Scythe. This weapon would help me battle my way through the Monolith. Most of the mobs had fled, but my town was in shambles. It was time to take the fight to them. It was time to take down the Monolith. I grabbed all the supplies I would need, all the crystals I had, food I had, and special items I had, and I headed out. I would return, I hoped. I got on my broom and began to head back towards spawn. I arrived back at the spawn point and I spotted the Monolith. I wasn't quite sure what this was, but I knew it was invading the world. I landed at the base of it and began pillaring up. Made my way up the stairway, fighting away the Lancers. I managed to somehow give myself the plague. It seemed like whenever I used that tool, I had a high chance of hitting myself, so I had to be really careful. I reached the top of the Monolith, but I couldn't find what was going on. How was I supposed to stop this thing from spreading? I noticed a weird structure and I approached it. As I got closer, it activated. I touched it and then it blew me back. It spawned in more of the Lancers. I took them out using my scythe and then approached it. It had a health bar. I began dealing damage to it. It pushed me back again, flinging me against the wall. I drew my bound blade and began dealing damage. It continually spawned mobs, but I was able to bat them back with my scythe. I inflicted the plague on me and it. And then I brought it down, but a beam of light shone through it.
Did I beat it?
I stared at it for a minute. I tried to walk through it, but it didn't do anything. I walked around puzzled. All of a sudden, explosions began appearing, and then quartz blocks. An arch appeared, and I walked into it. It teleported me atop. Some sort of portal was in front of me. I jumped in. Once inside, I saw all around me a floating islands. Whatever was starting this war was somewhere deep inside these cataclysms. It was time to find the evil behind this. I used the arches to teleport to different places. After looking around, I found a bladesmith. He traded some weird items, but I didn't have anything to trade with him for them. I found a strange portal on the outskirts of the island. I went into it, and then I was on some sort of bridge. It was dark and windy, and if I stopped moving, the wind actually pushed me. At the end of the hallway, I spotted a figure, Herobrine. Didn't make any sense that he was behind this. I broke through the bars. He wanted me to give him ender pearls. I took some pearls out of my bag and threw them to him, but I needed much more. And also, I wasn't supposed to throw them, I was supposed to right-click them. I left, and I went back home to collect some ender pearls. When I arrived, I grabbed the pearls and then came back. I gave the pearls to Herobrine. He gave me some some sort of key. This must unlock the next portal. As I turned to leave, a message in the chat appeared. He was trying to kill me. I turned and I faced him. Nothing was doing damage though. He was inflicting damage on me. Eventually my hits got through and I took him down nearly 3/4 of his health.
Come on, one more swing, one more swing.
I was able to end him, but he just spawned back in. He was playing with me. I made my way back out, looking for the next portal this key could unlock. I made it back to the main set of islands and used my broom to look around. One of the blocks seemed to have some sort of keyhole in it. A beam shot into the air as I took my key out. I right-clicked on it and all of a sudden a bunch of particles appeared. Something was being activated. I gave it some time and then the particles disappeared and a portal appeared. I recharged my wand and then I hopped into the portal, not knowing what to expect. Ahead of me lay a giant ravine and beyond that a fortress. The fortress must hold what I need, so I made my way towards it. Once on top, I began battling all the Maelstrom Illagers around. I made my way through the fences and I met a new type of mob.
This thing looks like a flower bowl.
I murked all of the guards. I had a feeling though that something more powerful lay within these fortresses' walls. I took out the remainder of the guards and then made a play for the center of the fortress. On my way up, I found some chests with some more powerful magic items. At the very top of the tower, I found him, the Maelstrom Illager. This must have been the wizard behind all these attacks. I jumped to action, but I couldn't do any damage. I quickly realized that the only time I could do damage is when he raised his arms to summon in more of his minions. I drew my staff, I had to time my hits, and as he raised his arms, I struck. Finally, I did some damage. The chat was taunting me. I bided for my time, and as soon as he raised his arms again, I struck. He tempted me with joining his empire, but I was far beyond that. He had killed too many of my own. He would succumb to my empire.
Come on, just a few more hits, a few more hits.
He lowered his arms, but he was one hit. I only had 1.5 hearts, but then I went in for the attack and I got him. I had done it. Or had I? As I got back from recovering the next relic, I realized I hadn't recorded anything, so I jumped right back in. As I appeared back in the realm, I hopped on my broom and went right back down to where I'd found the relic to begin with. I flew around what seemed like a giant ravine. The dungeon protruded out of one of the sides, and that's where I found it the first time, so I was gonna go back in and find another one. As I dropped in, a bunch of guards began engaging with me, and I fired back using my wand. I was able to take them down, but there were gonna be a lot more before I reached that end room again. These golden pillars seemed to spawn in the guards, and they also pack damage themselves. While making my way through, I was able to loot a few chests and grab some more items. This special magical gear was definitely something else. As I got closer, I could see the boss bar appear again, the Statue of Nirvana. As I got into the room, I drew my wand and began firing, but it wasn't having it. It was shooting right back at me. This was one of the most dangerous bosses in the game, but it was nothing like the end boss I would have to face after it. As it flew, I tried to track it with my wand, but its movements were pretty sporadic and it was really hard to hit. It dealt some heavy damage on me, but I wasn't going anywhere.
Come on, take out this stupid thing. All right, he's got to be low, right?
As the statue floated around, I continued to pelt it. It was almost dead, but don't be fooled, because when it gets to 0, something else happens. As soon as I brought it down, the Maelstrom Statue of Nirvana spawned. It was the corrupted version. It began firing more sporadically, and then it could blind me. I stopped to heal up my wand, and then I kept firing. I had to bring it down. It had less health than the previous version, but its attacks did a lot more damage.
All right, I gotta be careful here. Okay, use the totem. Okay, we're good. All right, let's just keep shooting. Come on, he's so close.
The battle lasted another few minutes, and with a few close calls, I was able to finally take him out. He dropped another one of the key fragments, and this time a special wand I hadn't gotten before. It was time now to go and trade with Herobrine. I made my way out and began flying back to the portal. When I arrived back to Herobrine, I gave him the key fragment, and he gave me the Crimson Dimensional Key. I found the keyhole it was supposed to go in by a beam that shot straight up again. As I right-clicked the key, it started out like normal, but as I watched it, it changed colors from red to purple. It had never done this before. All of a sudden, the ground around it started exploding. I wasn't sure what was going on, but I backed up. Explosions lit up the island where all of a sudden a giant castle-like object appeared. I wasn't sure if this was part of the plan, but I had to go on top and see what was going on. I hopped on my broom and then headed to the top of the tower. As I approached the top, I spotted him, the Maelstrom Champion. He was stopping me from activating the next portal and finding the end boss. I landed on the top and I began giving him everything that I had. He had a front flip attack at me. This guy was crazy. He could only be damaged when he had his shield down, so I had to time my attacks.
All right, come on, let's get some hits in. Yes, we got the plague on him. Oh, okay, that means we got the plague on us. Frick.
Every time my scythe inflicted the plague on something, if that entity then hit me, I would get the plague. I was figuring that out fairly quick.
Oh, hit me up again. again.
This was definitely one of the harder bosses I had to face. I was bringing him lower and lower, but I was scared for my own health.
All right, maybe we can use some life drain here. We can bring him down. Okay, no, he's doing a lot of damage. If we can, okay, never mind. Screw it. I'm going back to my scythe.
The tricks he had were crazy, but they were not going to outmaneuver my attacks. The Guardian began destroying the ground around me, but he was so close to death. He tried to summon something in the air. I wasn't sure what, but I wasn't giving him the chance to finish it. After the Guardian fell, a portal began spawning in the middle. This was the final portal. I picked up the items he dropped and then waited for the portal to spawn in.
All right, well, here goes nothing. Don't know what's on the other side, but I'm ready.
I did a cool little flip inside, and then I was in the abyss, waiting for something to load. As I arrived inside, it was quickly noticeable that this was not any normal realm. It was different than the others, though. It was almost like a civilization lived here. Some sort of ancient miners or something, as there were tracks and mines everywhere. Guards began spawning as I flew by. I was going to have to take them out. I landed down and began making my way through. I figured I could fly, but I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything, so I decided to go on land.
Oh my goodness, how many guards are there?
I pushed farther and farther down until I found this weird room with fans in it. As I made my way down, the fans pushed me back up. It was kind of cool on one side, but really annoying on the other side. I used my magic to help me push farther and farther. Something had to be down here that was causing all this. As I approached an area, an abundance of guards began spawning, and it looked a little bit different. I battled the crazy amount of guards and eventually took them down and pushed forward. But while venturing forward, I was attacked by even more guards than before.
Holy crap, how many people are down here?
I must have been close to something. They were trying to stop me from getting there.
Yeah, that's right. Go down, go down.
I took out the entire squad and pushed forward. I was close. Sure enough, as I went into the distance, I saw it, a small city, and atop it, some sort of dangling upside down tower. I hopped on my broom and I started making my way towards it.
Okay. That doesn't look normal. It's a giant hand with an eye in the middle of it. Kind of reminds me of Sauron.
Whatever that thing was, it had more evil magic in it than anything inside of this realm. I prepared myself by reloading my staff first. And then I missed. And then I activated the eye. I smacked it with my scythe, and then it began shooting back at me. The battle was on. It could fly, and then all of a sudden it flung itself at me. I took out my lightning ability and began zapping at it, but it did no damage. I changed over to my good old magic missile, and I began spamming.
Oh, I thought I was going to charge there for a second. Okay, I got just...
Alright, if it's just gonna stay out there, this is gonna be easy. I can just spam this missile at it and then I'm gonna beat it. Okay, it's getting particle effects. Okay, I'm good. Oh, it's breaking the blocks below me. The gauntlet was taking heavy damage from my wand. It was not prepared for this. I had to over-prepare, but I was okay with that.
Oh, there we go. Oh, down to the second floor.
I was on the second floor. The only problem with this was if I got to the bottom and fell, there was lava below me. Okay, he keeps breaking the floor. He back off. If I just can't fall. As he got lower, he went to a fist more often and began smashing the floor again and again. Falling through any of these cracks would be imminent death into the lava below me. He began spawning in mobs around him, so I had to take them out one by one. He hit on the floor below me like a coward. I couldn't hit him. I was able to snipe him using the corner of the floor, but it wasn't working very well. I recharged my wand and then began the final approach to kill him. He had arrived up on my floor.
Yeah, that's right, coward. You're going, okay, don't break the floor.
He had spawned more of his demon figures, but I wasn't letting them stop me. I kept spamming and then he fell and something spawned. I mined my way to the structure that he had spawned in, and down there was a bunch of shulkers, and in the main shulker, the key fragment that I needed. I checked out the other shulkers, and inside there was some insane magical armor. I collected up all the shulkers and headed back to Herobrine. This had to stop now. I traded the fragment to Herobrine, and then he responded with, "I'll be doing the rest. I can't let you have all the fun. Herobrine out." And then he just disappeared. I had done it, but when I arrived back in the lobby, I tried using the key on the dungeon block and it didn't work. I had a bad feeling about something. I found my way back to the main portal. I went back to the overworld where it was raining. Something was wrong.